Hello. Okay, so this last video is going to finish up the problem. All right, so we have this two-component formula of Raoult's law, which is that the pressure of the solution equals the mole fraction of pentane times the pressure, the initial pressure of pentane, plus the mole fraction of hexane times the initial pressure of hexane. So our mole fraction for pentane was this 0.42046833355 times the pressure they gave us way back in the beginning when we first listed this stuff, 622 torr, plus our second mole fraction, 0.57953166645 times our pressure for hexane, 160 dot torr. Multiply, multiply, add. So that is 0.420683355 times 622 plus 0.579531665 times 160 torr. And when you put this in the calculator, you don't have to put that dot. And that gives me 354.256371 torr. All right, and let's see, we started out with 3 sig figs, 3 sig figs, 2 sig figs, 2 sig figs, 2 sig figs, 2 sig figs. Whenever we did this, it was 2 sig figs multiplied by 2 sig figs, so 2 sig figs here and here. And then when we convert it, it still is 2 sig figs, so 2 and 2. And then when we do our mole ratio, 2 and 2. And then we multiply 2 sig figs by 3 sig figs, 2 sig figs by 3 sig figs. So each one of those would be 2 sig figs that we'd then add up. So I actually need to figure out what this is and what this is. Unless your current, in order to determine the proper number of sig figs, unless your instructor doesn't care. Let me do this times this real quick to see what it comes out to, because I put it all in the calculator at once. So 0.4204683355 times 622 on its own is 261.5313047. So 2 sig figs times 3 sig figs means that we'd stop here in the tens place. And 0.42 and 0.58 are about the same. Well, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to go ahead and stick that into the calculator because better safe than sorry. I'll do anything for a right answer, or at least as a student, I would. And I'm pretending I'm a student now, that I'm working with you. Okay, times 160. So this one, when you multiply just these two, is 92.72506632. So that's 2 sig figs times 3 sig figs, 2 sig figs. Okay, so this stops at the ones place. This stops at the tens place. So they never taught you this at the beginning of Gen Chem 1, did they? They always talked about what happens if you've got one at the tenths and one at the hundredths or something. You're supposed to cut it off at the shortest place. Well, if this is our last sig vig and this is our last sig vig, then we cut it off right there, which means 350 torr should be our final answer. All right, so I have time to do a recap. They gave us pressure, volume, and density, and they wanted to know what the pressure of the mixture would be. So I used volume and density in order to give us masses. And then those masses were in grams, and I had to convert them to moles. But in order to do that, I had to get molar masses, which is a long and arduous process. But once we got it, we converted our grams to moles, and then we did our mole fraction, which is a bit of a new concept. So I'll just say you add these two up to get your denominator. And then for pentane, you put the moles of pentane on top of your total, and you get that. And for moles of hexane, you put your moles of hexane on top of your total, and you get that. But a shortcut to remember is that our two mole fractions, which are actually decimals, mole decimals, add up to 1. So once you get this one, you can just say 1 minus that one to get the other one. And also, I just want to say I didn't round every single time I did the calculator stuff, just because it makes a more correct answer. But, you know, you do you. I was just always doing any little thing I could to make sure I got the correct answer. All right, so then we have our two mole fractions, which we plug in here. And then they gave us pressures before, multiply, multiply, add. All right, thank you very much, and that problem is over.